Now that we've covered decimals and fractions, let's talk about adding positive and negative mixed numbers. The first recommendation I have is go ahead and change the mixed numbers to improper fractions. There's two reasons for this. One is it gets to be a little bit tricky when you try adding negatives with the whole subtracting thing. The second is borrowing with subtraction can be incredibly difficult, or carrying over can be very difficult. The other reason is if you're doing grid response on the EOG, your answers have to be improper anyways. So go ahead and make them improper now, and it just makes them a little easier to deal with. While the numerators may be larger, if you know your integer rules, larger numerators aren't too horrible, as well as you have your three numbers that you know to simplify by. So you can always simplify those larger numerators. Taking a look at the first example. -1/6 plus 2 4/9. So the first thing we have to do is turn each of these into an improper fraction. The fact that -1/6 is negative is not going to impact how you've been making them improper. All it means is that we're going to say 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7, and we know it's going to be negative, over 6, plus 9 times 2 is 18, plus 4 is 22 over 9. So the negative, notice again, put it with the numerator just because it makes life easier, or it makes things easier for us. Now we have to get common denominator. So we can look at this and say, I know 18 will work, but if you didn't know 18, we would multiply the denominators together. So we would say 6 times 9, and therefore we would then say 7 times 9. We'd say 9 times 6, and then we'd say 22 times 6. 7 times 9 is 63, and we know it's going to be negative, over 6 times 9 is 54. Plus 22 times 6 is 132, and 9 times 6 is 54. Now we look at it and we see, all right, now we have common denominators, so now we pay attention to the numerators and we look at their signs. 63 is negative, 132 is positive. Our signs are different. That means we are going to have to subtract. 132 minus 63. Can't do 2 minus 3, so we borrow. 12 minus 3 is 9. We can't do 2 minus 6, so we borrow. 12 minus 6 is 6. So we end up with 69 over 54. But I can look at these and I know that I can simplify by 3, because 6 plus 9 is 15 and 5 plus 4 is 9. 69 divided by 3 is 23. 54 divided by 3 is 18. So we know the answer is going to be 23 over 18. To determine if it's going to be positive or negative, we look and we see that 132 is bigger than 63, therefore it has a larger absolute value. So going back to the top, 2 4/9, or 22 over 9, or 132 over 54 is larger than -1 1/6, -7 over 6, -63 over 54, and all of the first fraction, or all of the ones that are larger, are positive, so therefore our answer is positive 23 over 18. If you want to convert it back into a mixed number, go ahead. That would be 1 5 over 18. However, that is an extra step that isn't necessary, as well as there's going to come a time in math where mixed numbers are not mathematically accurate. But for grid response, it can't be mixed number. So leave it improper. Make life easier on yourself and don't give yourself extra work. Taking a look at the second example, we have -3 1/7 plus -4 2/3. So we make them improper, and we get -7 times 3 is 21 plus 1 is 22 over 7. Again, go through and make it improper like you normally would. 7 times 3 is 21, 21 plus 1 is 22. And then put the negative with the numerator. Plus 3 times 4 is 12, plus 2 is 14. So we have -14 over 3. Now we need a common denominator. In this case, we multiply our denominators together. So we have 22 times 3 is 66, we know it's negative, over 7 times 3, which is 21. Plus, we have 14 times 7, which is 98. We know it's going to be negative. 3 times 7 is 21. Now we can look at our numerators. Now that our denominators are the same, we look at the numerators and we say, are our signs the same or different? Well, 66 is negative, 98 is negative. So our signs are the same, which means we're going to add 98 plus 66. And we get 164. So we have 164 over 21. Now we need to go through the steps to check, can we simplify? So if we check, can we simplify, we can say, let's check 2. Does 2 go into both of those? Well, no, 2 doesn't go into 21. Does 3 go into both of those? 1 plus 6 plus 4 is 11. Well, 3 can't go into 11. And when you check 5, 5 doesn't work. So this tells us that since those 3 don't work, this fraction is most likely simplified already. And you get 164 over 21. Now we have to deal with the sign of the answer and determining is it positive or negative. So we know that if we have 2 signs that are the same, we're going to add and we keep the sign, meaning both of these were negative, so our final answer is negative. Negative 164 over 21.